Our next presenter is John Landmark, Vice President of Corporate Affairs Australia at Agnico Eagle. John is based in Melbourne and presented over video last year, so it's great to have him here in person. John has over 33 years of industry experience, working in countries including Australia, Canada, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Mongolia, and Brazil. John is a geologist by trade, but has held a variety of roles in exploration, mining geology, human resources, and risk management. John was with Kirkland Lake before its merger with Agnico Eagle. He also advised me this morning that he has become a grandfather twice this week, so a huge congratulations. Over to you, John.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Courtney, for the kind introduction. I should just clarify, that wasn't twins either. I only have two daughters, and they managed to deliver two grandchildren within 12 hours of each other. So I think it actually is a nice way to start because it talks about family, and I'll come back to the word family in this presentation. But let me start right from the outset by making a bold statement. Agnico Eagle is all about people, and it's about us collectively creating a positive impact in the communities that we operate in. We also mine gold. And I think many of you would be able to sit there and say the similar things about the workplaces that you come from. It's about people first, and then it's about the work that we do. So with that in mind, let me start by adding to what Lyndon Brownlee so eloquently said on Monday. And from myself, to be acknowledging the traditional owners of the country where we're meeting today. And I pay my respects to their culture and to elders past, present, and emerging. My purpose today is really a simple one. It's to introduce you to Agnico Eagle. I know many of you in the audience would know of Agnico Eagle. There are others that haven't heard of it, and that's been quite evident from people coming to our booth in the last few days. What I'm going to tell you about is who we are and our approach to mining and to growth. And the way I'm going to do it is I'll first outline our global operations, move on to our mission, our values, and our ESG strategy. And then I'll touch on our recent Q2 results. And then I'll close off with what is our presence here in Australia. I'll leave you to read the disclaimers in your own time, but right now I can advise you that there will be forward-looking statements in this presentation. And as a spoiler alert right now, I can also say, though, that I will not be presenting any new exploration results from Fosterville Gold Mine. We expect to put out an exploration update during the quarter for the broader company, but I'll leave it at that for now. And the only results that I will talk to are ones that have already been disclosed to the market. Despite that, I can report that we've been very active in the exploration front. Right now at Fosterville, we have 16 drill rigs operating on site. 10 of them are underground and 6 of them on surface. And we're engaged in a large $60 million exploration program this year. Now, I should also say that all the money references that I make in this presentation are in US dollars. So I'll go back to that statement about the exploration at Fosterville. That's $60 million US dollars that we're spending there this year. Let me officially introduce you to Agnico Eagle. We've been in business for 65 years. That's 65 years of mining experience in different regions and different countries, different climates, and different deposits, and in partnership with many different stakeholders and rights holders. Our roots were forged in this town of Cobalt in northern Ontario, in Canada, where in 1953, 5 struggling silver mining companies joined together to become the Cobalt Consolidated Mining Company. In 1957, the company was reorganized and renamed Agnico Mines Limited. The name was an abbreviation of the major elements or metals that were produced at that site. Obviously, AG for silver, Ni for nickel, and CO for cobalt. The word Eagle was added to the name in 1972 following a merger with Eagle Gold Mines Limited. If you look at the map there, you see the spread of our operations. So we began gold mining gold mining in the mid-70s at the Joutel mining complex in northwest Quebec, where we started with a few hundred employees, and we grew to 9 mines in Canada, Mexico, and Finland. Following the merger with Kirkland Lake Gold earlier this year, we now operate 11 mines in 4 countries, and we employ more than 16,000 people. And this makes Agnico Eagle the largest gold producer in Canada and the third largest gold producer in the world, with our 2022 guidance of 3.2 to 3.4 million ounces. Our mission is simple. We work very hard to be a high-quality, easy-to-understand business, one that generates superior long-term returns for our shareholders. It creates a great place to work for our employees and contributes positively to the communities and the countries in which we operate. This mission was reinforced through our merger earlier this year with Kirkland Lake Gold. At Agnico Eagle, our values of family, trust, respect, equality, and responsibility express who we are and guide us in everything we do. Even as we grow and expand around the world, our goals and values don't change. We believe in family, authenticity, and simplicity. We believe in working as a team and treating each other equally, fairly, and with respect. And I should comment that in the time that I've got to know the company, obviously I came through on the Kirkland Lake side, I've had time to interact with the executive team when they came out to Australia, and also to have spent 2 weeks at operations in Canada. I would add a value of passion there, but we don't say it officially, but it's just great to be in a company where you genuinely see people enjoying the work they're doing and enjoying working with their mates. ESG has always been a foundation part of who we are. On this one page is essentially the company strategy. I won't go through the blue and the yellow boxes, but I'll focus on the ESG box in green because it sits right at the core of our strategy. The completion of the merger of equals with Kirkland Lake strengthens Agnico's leadership in ESG, and it enhances our capacity to make longer-term ESG-focused investments. We believe that environmental, social, and governance considerations are not a burden, but are actually an opportunity to improve our performance and sustain our business over the long time. They sit at the heart of our strategy. And when you want to operate in an area for 30, 40, 50 years, you have to be a good neighbour from the outset. You have to be welcomed in the community, and that hasn't changed. What has changed in more recent times is the emphasis in the last 2 years with a focus more on climate change, and we continue to put a lot of effort into that. Our ESG strategy is built on 4 key pillars. Firstly, engaging with our communities and our Indigenous partners, pursuing innovation with the adoption of new technologies and embracing outside-the-box thinking, identifying and eliminating or mitigating risks to protect our operations, our employees, our communities, and the environment, and finally, adapting to new realities and evolving to meet new challenges. I pick on this one particular aspect, the community partnership programs, and this photograph really illustrates something very. I'll come back to where the photo was taken, but in our community partnership programs, we support 5 key areas. First of all, mental health, addiction, homelessness, senior care, and youth training and development. In Australia, we have a program which is funded $10 million over a 3-year spread to build long-term partnerships rather than straight sponsorship or donations. And this also gives the receiving entity a chance for longer-term planning and capacity building. This picture, as I drew attention to earlier, was recently taken in Bendigo when, for the first time, 9 executives from Canada were able to come into Australia in March And they actually met with a cross-section of the 18 community partnerships that we actually have operating in the Bendigo region. And the executives mixed and mingled with them, heard their stories, and actually understood the impact that, and the benefits that our sponsorship and partnership actually builds with these great organizations, many of them run by volunteers. The other thing to reflect on is that in that picture, our 9 executives, I was staggered to find out that some of our executives have been with Agnico for something like 35 years or 30 plus. It's very common in the company to hear about long-term employment, and that talks all the way back to passion and the fact that people are happy with what they're doing. I'll just pick on some other ESG highlights. We are recognized leaders in environmental performance, and the graph on the right there shows where the new combined Agnico Eagle sits in terms of greenhouse gas intensity and emissions in the industry. Agnico produces 63% less greenhouse gas emissions per ounce than the industry average, and it is, along with many other companies here, working towards a target of net zero by 2050. The Sandvik battery electric loader that you see in the bottom left there represents a $2 million investment in the Fosterville mine, and it underscores our commitment to sustainability and ensuring that the mining industry plays its part in supporting Australia's transition to renewable energy. That particular loader, I believe or understand, is only the 3rd one to come off to be trialled, and we will actually be putting that into Fosterville later this month. The technology used to make this loader feasible for mining operations is world-leading, and it will improve the overall safety at the mine. This imposing machine actually has 2 battery cages, so they're easily transferable. One's charging and then the other is operating. Each of those battery units weighs about 10.5 tons. The bucket on that scoop, or the loader, is actually an 8.6 cubic meter bucket, and it uses leading-edge battery technology based on the lithium iron phosphate chemistry. The other thing that's pretty important is, of course, it produces no underground exhaust emissions and significantly less heat, and you can imagine that straight away has a positive impact on the ventilation requirements underground and making the environment that people work in far more conducive to working. I'm now going to move on to some of our Q2 highlights across the company. The headline takeaway for Q2 is our very strong operational results, with record quarterly production and excellent cost control. This is especially important in this inflationary environment that we are all experiencing. Operation highlights included 858,000 ounces of gold production at total cash costs of $726 per ounce and all-in sustaining costs of $1,026 per ounce. The company has a very strong balance sheet. We currently have $2.2 billion of liquidity, and we've paid back $225 million of debt repayment this year. It leaves us with a net debt at the moment of around $434 million. In addition, we declared a 40-cent per share dividend, building on 38 years of consecutive dividend payments. I think the real story for Agnico Eagle over the next several years is the exciting and significant progress of development projects and our exploration results, and these reflect the future of the company. This quarter at Detour, we announced a 38% increase in gold reserves. That's an additional 5.6 million ounces in reserves. So now we're at 20.4 million ounces of mineral reserve, and we've added 10 years of mine life, which extends to 2052. We've increased recovered gold by 400,000 ounces in the 2028 to 2031 period. We've added 1.8 million ounces in the 32 to 42 period, and another 3 million ounces at the back end in 2043 to 2052. And I should say that we can see that this will continue to grow. Recently, we put down a 1 kilometre deep step-out hole, which returned 32 grams over nearly 5 metres, 4.8 metres. And this now extends the deposit another 2 kilometres west of the current pit outline. Our vision for Detour is to lift production to 1 million or more ounces per annum. That would be through a combination of increasing mill throughput and potentially adding in underground mining once again. The current life of mine indicates that Detour would have a 5.5 kilometre, 1.3 kilometre wide, so 5.5 kilometre long, 1.3 kilometre wide, and about a 630 metre deep open cut. So to compare it to something that's just up the road, that would be double the surface footprint of the current Kalgoorlie super pit. If I move to Australia, closer to home, and touch on Fosterville, as we look more closely at our Australian operations, Agnico Eagle has a solid economic footprint here, and we're committed to investing and growing the business here. At Fosterville Gold Mine, we produced 86,000 ounces in Q2 at an outstanding $351 per ounce total cash costs, with a gold grade of over 22 grams per tonne. We have approximately 800 employees and contractors, with 95% of those hired being from the local region. I mentioned earlier that we're committed to investing and growing the business in Australia. In 2021 alone, we spent over $80 million on exploration around Fosterville, and this year we will spend another $60 million and aim to achieve some 200,000 metres of diamond drilling. Last month, we completed the twin decline drives across to Robbins Hill. So in this long section view, you're looking to the west. The O'Dwyer's fault line is to the north, and what you see there is going from left to right. The Harrier system is on the left, and then the deeper plunging Phoenix system with Swan in the bottom third of that. And then, of course, across on the right-hand side is Robbins Hill at the northern end of our mining lease. I should also explain that the brown shading is what's the currently defined resources, and obviously blue is the reserves. What you don't appreciate, though, is that in putting this drive across, that's actually a twin drive. It's nearly 5 kilometres long, and appreciate that we did that 10 kilometres of driving in just over 2.5 years. We're now in a position to put 7 drill rigs in underground to define Robbins Hill. So we'll be doing that over the next couple of years. I should explain that Robbins Hill, we already know, is 3 kilometres of down plunge mineralisation. So there are intercepts that we've released to the market outside of those brown shapes that go well down to the south, plunging to the south. I should also say that if you look at that long section and think of Phoenix, that took 15 years of mining and drilling to define, and obviously was done progressively as we ramped down and were able to get drill rigs underground. With this exploration drive, we now have the potential to define that full 3 kilometre strike well before we even start mining. And when we do start mining, we've got the potential to go both up and down because we've already got a decline access position a good 500-600 metres below surface. The obvious requirement is that we have to establish ventilation to the surface because at the moment we are force ventilating all the way back from the Falcon pit. I'm going to move now to the Northern Territory. We've progressed well in the last year and a half with a $60 million program of rehabilitation of legacy mine sites at our Cosmo mine site south of Darwin. Last year we moved 16 million tonnes of sulfidic waste rock and we put them back into the Cosmo pit. So the time sequence photos there show you what's happened in the last year and a half. By the end of 2021, we had filled this pit We'd covered it with another layer of oxide or non-acid forming waste rock, and we'd started to cap it with water. This will become a new wetland area, with the annual wet season filling the lake. In addition, a further 15 water repositories around the Cosmo Howley area will no longer need the extensive lime dosage and restricted wet season discharge into surrounding creeks to raise the pH back to neutral levels. At the time that we started this program, we would have had 8 gigalitres of surface water. I don't know the exact mean pH, but some of the water bodies had a pH of about 2. Certainly our mine water dam was probably 2 gigalitres of a pH of 2. That no longer exists. We've phased that out. And already the pH of the water here you're seeing in the Cosmo pit is back at 7. Separately, we're also working closely with a team at the SMI, or the Sustainable Minerals Institute at the University of Queensland, to look at ways to actually cap waste rock dumps, sulfidic waste rock dumps, in situ without having to move them. Success in this research will be a game changer in the industry and could well be a lead example of how we can actually rehabilitate numerous waste dumps across northern tropical Australia. And in addition, I should say that we are exploring our tenements around Catherine and Pine Creek. We have active drill programs going on our tenements there right now. So really, in summary, to bring it all together, I hope this presentation has given you some insight into who Agnico Eagle is as a company, how we operate, and why we believe the future is bright for our operations. We have a simple, consistent, and disciplined strategy to build the new gold standard based on a few key things. Firstly, good operations in good regions with low costs, with a focus on high margins and per share metrics. Secondly, delivering on performance and growth expectations. And thirdly, building and maintaining a high-quality project pipeline, exploring in safe and prospective jurisdictions, with the ability to be able to operate multiple mines for multiple decades. With much justification, we believe that Fosterville Gold Mine will continue as our flagship in Australia for many years to come, and also remain a key asset for the Agnico Eagle, as a key asset for Agnico Eagle. It's an exciting time to be in the gold industry, I really believe that. The days of growing resources through fundamental drilling and applying sound geology, mining and processing knowledge to the rocks that we encounter are far from over. In turn, when performed responsibly, the benefits of gold mining that comes to regional communities, to businesses, to shareholders, to governments, national, state and local, are considerable. With that, I'll conclude, and I'll be happy to take a few questions. Thank you.
We have time for a question, so we'll open it up to the floor. Otherwise, we've got a question here. So, should we expect Agnico to maintain and grow its exposure to Australia? And if you were to look at inorganic opportunities, what are the key benchmarks that would drive a new investment?
That's the very question that we asked before our executives arrived in March, because I have to say that during the process of the appraisal or the evaluation and the merger, there were only 2 people from Agnico that were actually physically able to come over and see the assets during the discussions and the merger evaluation. And in fact, the executives, the first thing they did when they arrived was clearly, what have we bought? They needed to understand it. I'd have to say that after Amar and the team left after a week here and seeing everything, certainly Amar said it at the Melbourne Mining Club function that we hosted in Melbourne. Absolutely, they're delighted that Australia is in the Agnico portfolio, that Fosterville is in the portfolio, that we have a presence in Australia, and we absolutely do want to continue to grow that. In terms of what we would be looking at from an inorganic growth point of view, I think it's got to tick the criteria that I listed. We've got to be accepted in the communities that we want to operate. We've got to be happy with partners that we might partner with. We've got to know that they can work with us, we can work with them. And of course, I guess the obvious thing is that we have many different boxes that we tick now, not least of all some of the ESG considerations. So it's pretty obvious that we have a strong booth here. I should mention that we do have a number of geologists here, and we'd love to hear more about what's out there.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.